Hey there, Treepl people. Okay, so this is a video review for both version 6.0 and 6.1 release notes, combining those together. So it's been a little bit of a bumpy ride to get to here, but it's starting to smooth out, hopefully, and seeing some pretty cool features coming into v6. So we'll jump straight in, and firstly there's some changes in the portal. So in your Treepl portal, we can now change the site name. So if you click on the edit to get into the site settings, both in the live site or trial sites, you can now edit the site name. So you can change that if you need to. Also, both in trial and live site lists, you can actually now export sort of like the details or the summary of all your accounts. And there's a bit of an explanation here on the column headings that you'll get in the Excel file. So obviously that's helpful if you need to export and keep a track of your accounts, your clients' sites and things like that. You want to do that externally, so that's helpful. And one note about the export is it's for basically paid partners or partner agency level users. It's not available for the free users or associate level. The other thing they've implemented as well, which you've probably seen already, is the renewal notification. So the email will be sent out to 3 days prior to the subscription date for monthly ones, and 1 month prior for yearly subscriptions. And of course, if you've got the agency billing, direct billing enabled, that'll go straight to whoever's paying for that account. And then, of course, the whole big deal about version 6 is that it's now on a new architecture. So it's obviously a lot faster. You see in the demos that I'll give here that the admin's just a lot snappier, a lot faster. So much nicer to work in the admin. And of course, liquid rendering on the sites is faster as well, so you should see some improvements there. So in changing to what they're calling Liquid 3, there are, I think, about 4 sort of main things that are changing in how the Liquid works. Some of those things are actually bug fixes from the previous Liquid implementation. So there is a documentation article linked here, which I'll just open here. So it looks something like this. And there's about 4 or 5 notes here on the things to look out for that you may have implemented that will need some manual changing. And there's notes there on how you need to change that and how to go about all that. I don't think these things are going to sort of affect your sites widely. It's probably only in a small amount of cases where this may be come into effect. So overall, it's not too bad. But definitely just have a look through that just to familiarize yourself with those breaking changes, and if it's likely that some of your sites might have that. So I definitely recommend just checking that page out. Then we get into some of the backlog features. So the first one here is the file manager editing in multiple tabs. So this is a really neat feature. I was really looking forward to this one. So if you're familiar with the BC developer sort of environment or admin, you could basically open up multiple files from the file list and have them all open in different tabs and just switch between them. So it definitely makes working in files and coding a lot easier and quicker. So we basically have that now in Treepl. So if you go to the file manager, so it's the same type of file manager in place, nothing to sort of get used to there. Okay, so let's say you want to edit a few JavaScript files. So let's see what we've got here. So I can open up this app.js file. You can see that here. And you'll notice that there's a little tab here with the file name. So I can go and open another one. Let's say this plugins one. and you'll see that another tab has appeared. So I can switch back to the previous one and do editing in multiple files. Of course, remember to save any work. If you do try and navigate away, it will prompt you that there's unsaved changes, so that's pretty good too. It's you're not going to lose things. Yeah, so you can open multiple files from different folders as well, and just start working a lot more efficiently that way. So that's a really, really neat feature. And of course, this works for most text-based files, so anything that's a text editable file, and the list of file types that are currently supported are here, which should cover most cases. Okay, and the next feature we have now is ability to see the discount codes that are being used against orders. So before, it wasn't very clear what discount had been used, or even if there was a discount applied. So now under orders, if we go to, I think this first one here has one. So the first thing, when you go to the main details of an order, you'll see that there's a discount code used, and it gives you the code that was used. Also under the products tab, it will show that in the summary as well. So where we have discounts, you obviously see the discount price that was as before, but you can see now when I hover over either of these, there's a little tooltip saying the discount code as well. Now I'm not sure if this is just sort of a bug or how they intended to implement this, but I would much prefer to see that actually written here. I know when a shipping option is applied, the shipping option is actually printed here to see. If I just up back quickly, I think this order, you can see that the shipping had the free option applied, and that's printed there. I think that would be a much nicer way to put the discount code in there. I'm not sure why it was made as a tooltip, but yeah, I think that would just be a lot clearer. But also, which is another feature that I'll mention in a minute, the discount codes and gift voucher codes are now included in the reporting for e-commerce as well. So you'll be able to get the data out that way as well. Okay, and the next item here we have allow module items search from the tree view. So we could always search, I'll just go to galleries. So we could always search from a list view of items. There was this search filter at the top, as well as pagination on the list view. But whenever you're in tree view, or when you see like the parent items or the folder items, we couldn't paginate or search through those if there was quite a lot of them. So now they've just brought that same search interface and pagination to tree view as well. So that applies across the board for any module or custom module. But of course, ones that are in a nested structure, so galleries, blogs, and any custom modules that you've nested. And so, as I mentioned, the pagination, that's the second item here. But just pagination applies to the tree view as well. And within that, the sorting of column headings is applied for tree view as well. And that's remembered in a different state to the list view. So if you sort the list view in a certain way, the admin will remember that, and if you sort the tree view in a different way, that'll remember that separately as well. Okay, and also while we're in this interface, we've got the ability to show and hide inactive or enabled items just with the little drop down here. So that's super handy as well. Next on the list, we have module introductory note. So this is a really neat feature, just again to help if you need to sort of put instructions or notes to your clients on how to use a custom module or any other module. You can now go into settings, and there's a notes field here, so we can put in something here, instructions or whatever. Save that. Then when we head back to the home page of that module, you'll see up the top now there's a little note icon. And clicking that, it opens up the note in a little banner, and you can dismiss that as well. So obviously, really helpful feature to get some further instructions or information across to your client. Now, the original request, I think there's a little bit missing from this one, to be honest, and probably just needs to be tweaked a bit, because the original request, I think, had it right, where the suggestion was that the note would be open by default, because obviously you want to be presenting that note a bit clearer. I think a client would just totally miss this icon up here. They wouldn't know to click that to get more information. So if it was visible by default, and then they could dismiss it. So that's basically what they're saying here, is that once it was dismissed, then that the admin would remember that state, so it wouldn't display again. But currently there's no remembered state for this. If I leave that open and refresh the page, it doesn't come back open again. So I think that would be probably a better integration for a next iteration on this, if it did stay open. But otherwise, it's still a really helpful feature. Then we have bulk assign of templates. So this is great, really lacking feature, I think, which makes content management just so much easier. To do anything in bulk is easier, but so basically this works on any module, system module, custom module, pages, etc. So if you select multiple files, items, then go up to the context menu here, you can apply bulk assign, basically a template to those selected pages. So you could effectively select everything and reassign their templates. What I'd really like to see with this one, it's much of a muchness because you can do it here anyway, but when you're looking at a template, it would make sense to be able to do the same thing from this side. So if there was like a new tab here that you could click on and then assign items to that template rather than templates to an item. So having that both ways, of course, would be great. Then we have the implementation for Recapture version 3 for any of the system forms. So this is a really good change because everyone's getting sick of Recapture version 2 and having to tick that box. So for system fields like logins, resetting passwords and things like that, you can do away with that now and convert them to version 3. So basically it doesn't require any customer interaction. So basically two things you need to do: activate the setting first because it's not applied by default. So under settings, miscellaneous, in your Recapture settings, you can see I've already turned it on, but it would be on version 2 by default. Change it to version 3, so you tell the system that you want to now use version 3 and save that. And I'm assuming that you will then have to go through and change any fields to version 3 because if you leave them on version 2, they probably will fail, I'm imagining. I haven't tested that, but so we'll change it to version 3. Now I have a login page, for example. Okay, under my secure zone folder, I have a login page where I have the login form here. Now we can see that, where is it here? We've got a recapture code. So this is for version 2, but we've now told the system to use version 3, so this needs to be updated. Now this is this has been customized a little bit, so I don't want to just delete it and replace it with a new code. So I'm just going to make a little bit of space here, go to my components manager, secure zones, grab the login form code again. This time it should be with the version 3 enabled. And we can see here that we've got all the Recapture v3 code. So I'm going to copy all that out and replace it in this one. It doesn't have to go in the same spot since it's invisible. It can really go anywhere, but we'll just override that one. And get rid of that form code. Everything else is the same. It's still the same action, fields, etc. as far as I'm aware. And then save that. So that form's now been updated. So again, if you have any other system forms, they're probably on like the system pages. You may need to update those. So let's go and have a look if that has worked. So go to my login page. Okay, so there's no recapture showing there. I've got the one down here at the bottom. But that was probably there anyway because of this form, but we'll see what happens. And that's logged me in. So that's awesome. No recapture anymore. Excellent. So it lists here the forms that would use this. So just double check that if you've got any of those forms in play, then go and update them. Okay, next we have the add format button for code in the code editor. So this is a really cool feature as well. Okay, so let's say we've got some messy code in here. Some things have gone all into a line or not tabbed very well. We can just hit this button up here and it'll reformat everything nicely. So if you're used to having that in VC, we've got that in Treepl now. And lastly here for 6.0, the customer bookings and orders is now showing in the customer record itself, which obviously makes sense. It's really handy to have it there. So if we're looking at a particular customer, we now have their event bookings and their orders within their customer record. And the table here displays the same as it would if you're looking at the actual orders or event bookings section. But of course, this is just for this individual customer. So again, that's a great feature, really handy to have. And we've got the search functionality here as well. Okay, so let's have a quick look through 6.1. Okay, now this feature is awesome. We now have the ability to use gift cards and discount codes on any payment form. So how awesome is that? Not just through the checkout, but if you have just a generic payment form, you can apply a discount code to it. If you have paid events or paid secure zones, you can use discount codes and gift vouchers for those. So someone can purchase a gift voucher in your shopping cart, but then use it for signing up to a paid secure zone. So that's going to be really helpful. And it also gives us a bit more ability to alter a price for a fixed price thing. Like if you've got paid events, for example, you can't adjust that price any other way. The system has to take the price that's set in the admin for that item. So this also gives us a little bit of a backdoor there to try and adjust that price if we need to for any reason, if you've got a custom implementation. So both percentage off discount codes and fixed price discount codes work, and even for reoccurring secure zones. So there's a fair bit of information here going into the flow on how this works for both types. And if you've got reoccurring secure zones, how that works. There's actually now a setting where you can apply the discount to work just for the initial payment. So maybe it's a discount code that gives them like a reduced entry price, but then the ongoing price is at the standard rate. So you can do that now. There's a setting, I think, to allow it at the first occurrence, or you can allow it for all ongoing occurrences. So the discount can keep applying. So I think that setting's under e-commerce settings. It's written in here somewhere. You can read through that. Yeah, here it is, recurring settings. So first payment only, or all payments. So you can, that's sort of a global setting you can apply. So yeah, there's a lot of information here on the flow and how that's calculated. I think it's been executed really well. Yeah, I think that's going to be really helpful. So just to be able to use discount codes in your own custom implementation for payment forms is just going to be really cool. And of course, that ties into the discount code and the gift voucher, so you can see that in the orders and against the customer. So all the same rules apply that would normally work in the checkout as well. Okay, that's a big one. Next is the Stripe customer portal. So this is a really cool feature. I was a bit surprised to see this come into play so soon, but I don't have any demo for this because I don't have this set up. But if you're using Stripe, they have this thing called the customer portal, so basically Treepl have implemented that into the system. So it's basically for reoccurring subscriptions, I take it. So when the order is created, the system will create like a special link that can link out to Stripe's customer portal and take the client there, and from there they can see basically their account and manage their subscription through Stripe. So it's like an external page, but there's a link here if you want to read more about that, and if you're using Stripe, of course. But yeah, it's certainly pretty cool if you want your customers to be able to manage their own subscription-based payments. So have a read through. There's a fair bit of information here too on how that works, but so it also allows things like the customer to change their email address and their billing address, phone number, and they get pushed back into the Treepl CRM. So have a read through how that works, and yeah, it'd be really interesting to see how that setup can work. Okay, next we have customer reports, getting a bit of an upgrade for orders, customer and order reporting. So basically we have all the information around the products within an order as well. So before, so I've got a saved report here for contacts and orders. Before we just basically had the top level order information, so the total price, what the order was basically, but now we can drill further down into the actual product lines. So we can see here I've ticked on some product related information. So we can pull those out into the report and of course filter on those items as well. So if we go to filters, add new filter, and scroll down and we'll see that so we've got product name, product attributes, product price. So these are individual product lines that may have been within the actual order that we're looking at. But if I just take a look at the results on all of that. So it's similar to when you export orders, all the order lines or the product lines for the order will be in extra rows underneath that order. So if I filter if I sort this by order ID, so yeah, you can see here this order ID is the same as this one. So these two results are from the same order, but there's basically two product lines within that order. These are for secure zones, but the same thing would happen for the cart or anything else where you can purchase multiple items or products. So you just have to be aware that if the ID matches up, that's for the same order. Okay, and again, it goes into more information there on all the new fields in the reporting. Okay, and next we just had a little fix to the truncate liquid filter. You can have a look at the examples here, but basically it's just allowing for the ellipses or whatever string that you have after the truncation is occurred. Normally it just puts like the 3 dots or whatever you specify. There was just an issue with how it calculated the amount to truncate, including the characters in that extra string. So that's just been fixed now, so it works as it should do. Then we have a adjustment here to the form submission page. So previously, I'm not sure when this changed, but previously when a form was submitted, by default, it would go to this URL here and append the form alias as a URL parameter. So obviously you could use that, you could pull that parameter out with Liquid or for any other purpose and do any custom implementation with that. But somewhere it changed that it would then redirect the actual system page, which is form submission results. And the URL parameter for the form alias wasn't carried over. But so this is the fix. Now it is. The form alias will be pushed through to the system page as well. So you can keep basically using the same method if you've got custom implementation using that. Or as it mentions here, for Google Analytics tracking or any other tracking that uses that parameter in the URL. So that should hopefully fix anything that was broken because of that change. And then lastly, just one of the beta features or the feature flags has now been applied by default, and that's the recapture being enforced on any form now. So any form, even if it takes payment, requires either Recapture version 2 or 3. Looks like that's now in place with version 6.1. Yeah, so if you haven't already implemented that for all your forms, make sure you do that before version 6.1 rolls out. And I believe any forms that are behind a secure zone don't require the recapture, but maybe good practice just to put that on anyway, since it doesn't require any user interaction. Okay, and that's it for 6.0 and 6.1. Have fun.